Hello everybody. Well, it's time for another video, and I was thinking about a topic for a while. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do for you guys, but I finally decided on a topic that I think is pretty important, and that topic is going to be mold. Now you're probably thinking this isn't that big of a deal, and maybe for some of you that's not, but I think this is probably one of those lessons that it's better to have someone point out before you actually um, experience it, because what mold can do on this island is sneak up on you. Mold can basically appear in places where you might just kind of put something and leave it there for like a week, just something that's out of sight, out of mind, and then you come back to it and it's just smells bad. It's riddled with black mold. And so Caitlin and I have learned the hard way how that can really just change things for you pretty fast. So what I mean by changing things is having to discard a lot of stuff, having to clean things really deeply to maybe remove kind of the growth that's become prevalent in the area. We've lost a lot of clothes. We've even had to throw away shoes. My yoga mat, which is supposedly mold resistant, was growing a layer on the top. So maybe mold resistant with the yoga mat just means that it's not going to degrade by the mold, but the mold can be surface level still. And I guess I kind of just wish that I had prepared a little bit more for it. So I'll talk to you about some of the things that you can do, and some of the things that we tried to do, and just kind of talk about the successes and failures of combating mold, because with the humidity being so high here, with it always raining, I mean, it's almost impossible to get a full day of sunshine here, uh, meaning things would dry out and the mold wouldn't be a problem. So you can pretty much guarantee mold is going to exist in some form or fashion on your stuff, and so I thought it would be good to combat that with information. Now, some of the common items that you're going to find mold on are going to be what you'd expect. Like I said, clothing is a big one. We actually purchased moisture wicking or moisture pulling bags from Walmart and put them in our clothes drawers so that we could kind of pull that moisture out of the air. Towels. The biggest one I would say is probably laundry, because most people, I think, would probably create a pile of laundry in a basket before they actually, go deal with it. And in that time, while it's sitting there, something can really just kind of accumulate the mold, because the moisture will be contained. It's a still air environment. So that's probably a good one. Towels. Those obviously, because they are introduced to so much moisture as a drying off thing. I would even say that my tent has mold on it in certain spots. Basically anywhere water can sit and just enjoy itself for a while, it's going to create mold. There's just too much dust in the air, especially on the wet side of Big Island. So when we first moved here, we tried a couple of different things. We purchased mold resistant spray, and that did work, but that requires way too much upkeep and maintenance, and ultimately we're just not responsible enough for that to be a success story. We purchased some plastic sheeting from Walmart, I believe. It's very much like a trash bag that is not created in a bag, like it's just a sheet of plastic. We've actually continued to use that in certain corners of the tent. So we place it in a way that it prevents water from getting in there. For our clothes drawers, because they are open on the back side, we actually put that plastic back there and just basically glued the plastic to the back to keep the moisture out, and that kind of alleviated the need for the moisture pulling material that we purchased, the little bags from Walmart. Now, The best thing you can do is probably just make sure that the items, the furniture, the things that you're buying are naturally mold resistant. Pretty much everything that says, or everything that you buy is going to say to some form or fashion if it's got some kind of mold resistance factor. But I think the best thing that we found are what are called gasket lined Tupperwares, basically. They're a little bit more expensive than your standard tote. That's because the lid is lined with a gasket that allows the moisture to be held out. And this is good too because it keeps the fire ants out as well. It's really the only way to keep them out of your food, out of your clothes, and everything else like that. I'll show you an example. This is outside. This is a gasket tote outside that we have our towels in for when we shower and stuff. So you can see right here that there's this blue lining. That blue lining is actually the gasket. Now, Target sells a rubber gasket lid, and Walmart sells one that's more of like a styrofoam. Price-wise, they're about the same. The lids, the main thing I would say is that commit to one grocery store or one store to buy these things, because the lids actually have a stacking effect. And if you purchase it from Walmart and mix it up with some Target purchases like we did, you can actually stack everything very neatly. But that's like the best thing we found. I mean, I think it was like $30 for the tote that I just showed you, which isn't too bad compared to the regular totes that have a clamp. You would think that the regular totes would be sufficient. They are not. Now, I use those type of totes for things that are already pretty well sealed. So, for example, like mason jars and stuff like that that are already contained. We purchase paper towels pretty much in individual rolls. If we just see them, we need them, we grab them. We don't use them very much. And so you know, that's contained, so you can throw it in there. But the moisture wicking ones, the gasket ones, are good for those things that are just vulnerable to the area. What else can I say? It's pretty hard to really keep this stuff out, so you should expect it. But if you treat it fast, you can contain the spread, and you can make sure that it doesn't affect other things. We had a shoe rack that was made of bamboo, which I would probably not recommend purchasing bamboo unless it's an interior item. Ours was not the shoe rack, as we live in a tent. Nothing is technically interior in my opinion, but the bamboo was where the majority of the mold seemed to grow. So it looked nice when we purchased it. That's why we chose it over a metal shoe rack, and that was probably a mistake, retrospect. But that would pretty much do it for mold. Not like a super intense topic, but just one that I think needs a little bit of an acknowledgement, because it's going to affect you pretty heavily. You know, moving from Kansas, mold only appeared under the sink in the kitchen. Here, mold is everywhere, and it's kind of a big force of nature because it ruins so much. It can become a pretty expensive thing. So just prepare, be ready for it to be a problem, but you'll kind of adapt with it. Anyways, that's it. Leave a comment if you have any questions. If you would like to request a different video, I'm welcome to address a specific topic. I've got a lot to go over, but it just takes time to post these things and kind of, you know, make sure to do them. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to continue to do this, and as we develop our land, we'll get further into more neat projects. We're still clearing right now, so it does create a little bit of difficulty creating content. And then, you know, just make sure you have a good day. Mahalo.